Hey guys, it's your boy Duel here, back with another Spider-Man video, and today's episode is episode 5, titled Competition, and this episode is written by Kevin Hops and directed by Troy Adamitis. I don't know if I'll ever say that right. That could be the right way, or I could be completely wrong. Anyway, this episode starts off with Peter just swinging around, and Marco is caught robbing a store, and he he gets caught by Spider-Man like right away. And it's funny because he's like walking out and he's like, "Oh man, it's nice not being caught by Spider-Man." And then like literally 2 seconds later, Peter shows up and he captures him. So as soon as he gets caught, Hammerhead bails him out and he pretty much recruits him. And I think his name is O'Hearn. I had to actually pause the video and look at the subtitle to see what his name was so I could write it down because I kept forgetting his name in the last episode. So after that, we get a transition that Peter's like webbing around. It almost looks like a scene out of Spider-Man 1 where he's shooting webs around and stuff. Aunt May kind of walks in and it's pretty much, hey Peter, you've been doing such a good job recently. You know, you've been such a good, good little nephew. So your curfew's restored for good behavior. The fall formal's mentioned, and Aunt May is pretty much like, hey, you should take MJ. You know, she's got that wonderful personality. And Peter's just like, ugh, I gotta get out of here. I can't do this. Followed up by Flint and Marco meeting with Hammerhead, and they're both. And he notices that O'Hearn isn't there. He's like, what happened to O'Hearn? And he's like, listen, this is just for you. This is the big man doesn't want O'Hearn involved. He just wants you. And it's a solo job. So, and Marco's like, oh man, I get to meet the big man? And Hammerhead's like, nobody meets the big man. And that's about it. They're like they're entering some sort of facility, which is obviously a precursor to him getting the Sandman powers. We next move to a scene with Pete and Gwen and Harry. They're at school, and, Peter's over here like, man, my 2 best friends still won't talk to me. And so Harry's just all like, oh, it's just not a big deal, man. Not a big deal. Gwen doesn't actually say anything, but there's like an announcement before I think she can even speak about a tryouts happening, and Harry wants to try out. And Peter's like, nah, I think I'll sit out. And Gwen warns Harry, like, hey, you're probably too small, and this probably isn't for you. You're probably going to get destroyed. So Peter's like, nah, I don't want to take part in that. My spider powers, that's not for me, right? It's not for Peter. He doesn't want to use his powers for personal gain, which is, respectable. But that's immediately changed when he overhears Flash saying that they're going to just destroy Harry at tryouts. So Peter says that he'll get his back and he'll do tryouts. So anyway, they start doing the tryouts, and then we transition to a scene with Otto Octavius, and he's experimenting on Flint, and he can see he's got his Doc Ock arms. He's not Doc Ock yet, but he's got his arms, and Flint is asking about his arms, like, hey, what's up with the arms, Doc? And I was like, it's for delicate experiments, and it's for keeping a safe distance from you, which I thought was pretty funny. Hammerhead just tells Marco to calm down. And he's like, okay, explain what's going on here. Explain the experiment. So Otto pretty much explains that he'll be able to pass through metal detectors and that he'll be impervious. And Flint Marco's like, what's impervious mean? Because I guess we have to explain that to the kid audience. Pretty much he'll be invincible, obviously. So tryouts begin at high school. And things are going pretty well for Peter and Harry. Obviously for Peter, he like pretend stumbles a little bit and then he starts doing really, really good. And that's pretty much it. I think I don't remember if Tryouts finish here or not, but we'll just go on to the next scene where Otto's talking to Norman, and Norman's like, what's the status quo on Flint? We need to know what's going on here. I need to know immediately. I'm a businessman. You have to tell me immediately, right now. Anyway, so Norman's like, hey, what's going on? And Otto's like, listen, I need more time. And Norman pretty much tells him, back to formula. No, literally, that's almost exactly what he says. Not word for word, but pretty much is like, this is the test. We do human testing on ourselves. And we're going to test on Marco anyway. I don't give a crap. So the experiment starts to go sideways, and Otto warns Norman to abort. And Norman's like, nah, not yet. Let's see what happens. And at the very end of the experiment, he's turned into like, it looks like a pile of ash, but obviously it's just a pile of sand. So then we now get the scene where he is now Sandman. He's the fully fledged Sandman, and Sandman wakes up and he's out of it, and he's in the car with Hammerhead, and they're probably driving to, I don't know, talk to the big man. I don't know where they're going. I don't think they're meeting the big man, but they don't explain where they're going. But there's a conversation that's had where Hammerhead says, man, but look at this. Sorry about the thing went sideways, but you can get you revenge on Spider-Man. And Sandman's like, no. At first he's like, man, yeah, that sounds. Wait, no, I'm not no chump. Revenge is for chumps. I'm gonna show everybody who Sandman really is. And then he pretty much just jumps out of the car, like he disintegrates into sand. And Norman's like, oh, didn't we need him to fight Spider-Man? And Hammerhead's pretty much like, weren't you paying attention, Norman? Like, Sandman's just a distraction for the big man, but Sandman will be a good one. So anyway, Sandman goes and robs a bank, and Spider-Man shows up, and he's like, man, this is getting old, but where's your partner? And Sandman's like, I don't need no partner, Spider-Man. And that's when, they start getting up, going on a 1v1, and of course, it wouldn't be an episode if Spidey didn't get one-upped. He actually becomes unprepared, and he runs out of web fluid. And he starts to make jokes about the makeover, and Sandman, like the dummy he is, mentions that the big man gave him his powers, and Spider-Man's like, big man? What are you talking about? Who's the big man? So now Spider-Man is now officially tripped up on who the big man might be. The fight ends with Sandman getting away, but he forgets the money that he was trying to steal at the bank prior to Spidey meeting up with him. Alright, we move to the next scene where Liz wishes Peter some good luck at tryouts. There's a montage of tryouts and Sandman robbing banks. The tryouts go well for Peter. He doesn't even hold back using his powers, so he becomes the new starter with Harry as backup. But in the scene, you can see that Harry is kind of upset by this. He wanted to be the starter. So you can tell that Harry is just trying to impress his father the whole episode. Like, that's all he cares about. I don't even think he really cares about being a football player. He just wants to make his dad proud. Flash gets very upset about this information. And the jocks invite Peter and Harry out to eat. I think it's called the Silver Spoon. But Peter declines. The bus is leaving, and he chases after Gwen while Harry decides to go out to eat with the jocks. Gwen asks Peter, why aren't you hanging out with the jocks? And he's like, well, I like my old friends better. And Gwen forgives him for the shit that happened at the Bugle. And then Gwen, she politely tries to ask Peter out to the formal, but Peter is so oblivious to it. He's just like, yeah, I already asked Betty out. And then, there's a pause, and she was like, oh, okay. And then he's like, but she said no. And then she's like, well, I don't have anybody to go with. And Peter's like, well, it doesn't matter anyway, because I'm not going to go to the dumb formal anyway. So Gwen's like, yeah, okay, thanks. So a crime starts, and the bus is stopped, and Peter's like, I gotta go because I gotta go take photos for the Bugle. But he's like, oh shoot, I just realized I can't use that lie because I just told you that, I wouldn't take photos for the Bugle anymore. And Gwen's like, it's all right, you just be careful, do what you gotta do. Now Spider-Man and Sandman are fighting, and there's like a black van that Sandman was driving, probably loaded with cash, towards a bank, and it gets driven off the road. Because Spider-Man stops Sandman from driving, and so he loses control of the van, and so it runs off the road. Spidey tries to web up Sandman, but he gets out of it, and it's just like, you can't web me up anymore, I'm made out of sand. Harry's hanging out with the jocks, and Gloria takes a liking to him. Her big boyfriend, I don't even remember what his name is, I think his name is Max or something, but he's just a loser. And Gloria breaks up with him because he's just being a jerk. He knocks a drink onto Harry, and Harry's like, whatever. And Gloria's like, come on, I'll take you home, or you can take me home, Harry. So they leave the Silver Spoon, and then we move back to Spider-Man and Sandman fighting. Spider-Man is fighting Sandman, but realizes that, he's gonna run out of energy eventually, so he has no choice but to bait Sandman into a cement truck. And obviously this ends up working out for Peter, and he ends up getting cement on Sandman, and he gets solidified. I don't know what happens after that. I don't remember them showing a scene where he's in prison or anything, but I'm sure he's not dead. Harry comes home to his mom and dad. He's got a football helmet in his arms, and Norman's like, "Why are you wearing a football helmet? That's not really for you, bro." And Harry's just, he's acting all sad. And his mom doesn't say anything, which I was very surprised by. She doesn't even say hello to him. Like, Jesus, no wonder this poor kid is always just so down in the dirt. His parents, all he wants is his parents to pay attention to him, and they won't give it to him. They just won't. He's got all the money in the world, but he has all these personal issues. And so I think there's actually there's a scene where they're at the Silver Spoon talking, where he's with Gloria, and before he gets that drink spilled on him, where they just think that Harry's life is just so amazing because he's rich. But in reality, yeah, he has all this money, but he doesn't have a very good life. So he doesn't have good friends. Well, he's got Peter and Gwen, obviously, but in his eyes, his life isn't all that great, And he's got all these first world problems with the chauffeur and all these things. So people just think that, because he's rich, that he's immediately happy, but he's not. He's not happy. So that's a good message, I think. The tryouts go one more round, and Peter ends up throwing the tryouts because I think he realizes that Harry doesn't want him to be the starter. So Harry becomes the starter while some other kid named Brown becomes the backup. And Peter realizes that if he wanted to get all the glory, he wouldn't wear a mask. And I really like that line. I thought that was a really, really good line from him. Gwen shows up with ice cream, and that's pretty much the episode. There's a lot of seed planting, which is pretty much what this entire first chunk of episodes has been. It's just all seed planting, most likely towards the Sinister Six and Green Goblin. If I had to guess who the big man is, it's probably Norman, but it's Green Goblin. That's my theory. I could be completely wrong. And that also, I could be cheating because when I clicked on this episode to watch it, there was a picture of Green Goblin from the show. So I'm like, I don't know if that's some sort of foreshadowing. It might be. I guess only time will tell, right? So overall, this is a solid episode. I kind of feel like not a lot happens. There's not a huge message in this episode, which is fine. That's not a complaint. There doesn't have to be a huge message in every single episode that happens. But it just kind of felt like it's a world building episode, I guess you could call it, a seed planting one, right? But it was a solid episode. I like how we're teased with Otto's arms and Sandman's now being made. So all these villains the Rogues Gallery for Peter is getting made, and so that's pretty cool to see. Pretty sure at some point we're gonna get a Sinister Six episode. I'm pretty sure it actually happens. So anyway, that's pretty much it. I don't really have much more to comment about this. The animation was solid, the writing was solid. Probably not my favorite episode so far. It's not that I dislike the episode, it's just kind of there. It's just world building, right? So I don't really have too much to say. So I'll just wrap it up and we'll end it there. And I just want to say, if you've made it this far in the video, I just want to say thank you. I appreciate it. And if you have the time, please like and subscribe. It means a lot. I don't want to sell out, but you got to do what you got to do, right? So thank you so much once again for sticking through the video. Anyway, yeah, have a good day, guys. Hope you have a good one. And remember, with great power comes great responsibility. I'm Dual Liar, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.